Hi, you're listening to Playing Out from the Bar. Please be aware this podcast contains strong language.
Hello, and you are listening to Playing Out from the Bar. I am Jack Lacey, and I've just poured an ice cold cider ready for another episode. I am propping up the bar once again, but thankfully not on my own. I'm joined, as ever, by Mr. Lewis Tricey and Mr. Lewis Dawson. How are we this evening, gents?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. I'm looking forward to... We've released an episode now. In our real timeline, so yeah, I feel positive that things are moving forward with the podcast, and yeah, should be another good episode. What are you both drinking this evening?
I'm on the Corona tonight.
Were you on the Corona last week, or?
No, I was on an IPA last week. I did go a bit adventurous last week. It was. But no, pretty standard this week. Just a Corona to just celebrate another 6 months of lockdown restrictions.
Yeah, Corona.
It does seem to be like always on offer in the shops at the minute. Corona, so you can't help but buy it, whether you want to or not.
It's one of the weird benefits for me of this whole year is that I've realised I really enjoy drinking Corona. Like, it's just a nice tasting beer for me.
Yeah,
which I didn't
it's a good one to have in, isn't it? It's a good
Yeah.
one that just like to, if you put in something in the fridge, you can't go wrong with Corona. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but
Tricey?
yeah, I'm on the Corona. Tricey, what you on?
I'm on the 1897 again, Aldi's rip-off of 1664.
Oh, nice.
Are you going to be on this for the whole rest of the season now, Tricey? Is this just your beer?
I've got one more, so I can probably see them off today, the 1897s. But yeah,
How many
Aldi.
How many did it come in? How many's in a pack?
I think it was a 4-pack I got last week. Yeah, so I've not done much drinking really. That's a benefit.
What's going to be next week's? I'm trying to think of another wordplay for a mainstream beer.
Yeah, they have a German Pilsner, I think, that I might have to give a go. But I've got a payday coming up, so I might treat myself to another beer delivery.
Is that
I might go
local?
Bit rogue. Go for Boddington's or a John Smith's.
That's a very rogue choice there, Dobby. No, I don't think I've ever had a John Smith's. I was just like, it's just something I see at the races, and I'm just like, I need to steer clear of that. But I'm not sure why.
Smooth.
You know, when you was like when we was like 16 and you were going to house parties and you'd take beers with you.
Yeah.
I had this really weird phase where I'd take John Smith's. I'm not quite sure. I was on holiday. Was away somewhere for a weekend on holiday with my dad, and in like the hotel bar, he let me have a pint of John Smith, like a couple of pints of John Smith's.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's all right. So then the next weekend, you're going to a party. So I was like, yeah, I'll have some John Smith's again for the weekend.
I feel like that perfectly fits your 16-year-old persona. Just like, you know, who's that? What's that guy drinking? He's trying to be a bit older than his age, isn't he? John Smith. Oh, good stuff. We should probably start with our regular feature, our heads up mental health section. One good and one bad thing from the week. Dobby, what's been good in your world this week?
Good thing is, and I can't believe I'm saying this is a good thing, but for the first time in 6 months, I went into the office, the work office. So I've been working at home for 6 months. So yeah, literally turning my laptop on in my dressing gown for 6 months. So it was a weird feeling to actually get up to the alarm and be looking forward to going into work. I think it just got to, as I said last time, I think it got to a point where I was getting a bit fed up working from home. So
yeah,
even if it's just going to be 1 day a week, it's just a change of scenery, a bit of purpose for the day, reason to put a shirt and some trousers on and get out of the house. So yeah, that was a good thing for the week. Do you want my negative?
Go for it, yeah.
Well, the Nightmare Delivery Company is struck again, Hermes.
Another chance to slag off Hermes on this podcast. I love it.
This is going to become a regular feature at this rate. Yeah, but basically I ordered a Leeds United shirt on the 3rd of September. On the 6th of September, it was with Hermes, still no shirt. So we're talking we're talking a couple of weeks now. I got in touch with one of my mates who works at Hermes, and I asked him like, what's going on. So he got my tracking number, put it into the system, and he said, yeah, well, I can't tell you where that is. I think a courier's got himself a new shirt.
So this is like Hermes' employee dishing the dirt almost on the company, like he's selling them down the river with that.
Yeah, he didn't seem surprised as well, which was worrying. Like, it was like, yeah, sorry, mate.
It's like a regular thing. Like, yeah, the couriers regularly just take
then,
parcels for themselves.
I emailed Leeds United to tell them, and they didn't even seem like too surprised. They were like, "Oh, all right, we'll have a follow up, and if there's a problem, we'll like rearrange another one, or you'll get your money back." So I think, I don't know. I just think it's just bad business all around when you deal with Hermes, isn't it? So.
Yeah. I mean, clearly we're never going to get a sponsorship from them based on the first few episodes, but I'm happy to run with
listening and they're thinking, we like these guys.
We're taking out a competitor for them.
Yodel. Fancy a bit of Yodel.
Oh, Yodel, yeah. I've not had anything from Yodel in a while, actually. Yeah,
Are they still going?
They were pretty good back in the day, Yodel, yeah. Yeah. Tricey, have you got anything to add to the Hermes incident?
Well, actually, when your shirt does come, Dobby, they'll bloody put your door through, won't they? Have any of you two noticed that? As the pandemic's increased, delivery drivers' knocks have got louder.
God, yeah, I had one today that, I mean, I was nearly in the shower at the time, so I didn't bother going to answer it, but I was just like, that's an aggressive door knock, I don't need to answer that. You know, have a bit of politeness and show some respect when you're knocking on someone's door.
Well, that actually leads me on to my sort of moment of madness this morning, really. The delivery driver did a double knock, and he was fortunate that Alfie wasn't in bed at the time, because if he was, God, it would have woke him. No one wants a screaming toddler at that time. And I said to him, "Look, mate, you don't have to knock that loud." And he was like, "Oh, don't worry about it." I was like,
I am worried about it.
Chill out.
Let me just pick my door back up off the floor and put it back on its hinges, and then we'll get back to it.
He's just really enthusiastic about his job, Trice.
Yeah.
It's alright to say don't worry about it, but no, it's like, no, literally that's what I am doing. I am worrying about it. By saying that, by initiating this conversation, I'm worried about your knocking. Is that your
negative of the week?
No, that can't be. That'd be too Alan Partridge of me to do that, wouldn't it? If I'm being deadly serious, my negative is probably just the first time. Well, I know I said it last week as well, really, but it seems like the pandemic's not going away, really. And I think the penny's dropping with a lot of people now. Like, did you see what Joe Wick's video? He was like, he's just feeling this massive wave of negativity from everyone, like it's affecting him.
And Joe Wicks?
Yeah.
Well, if Joe Wicks is getting down, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, we are in trouble. That is true.
We are in troubled waters, aren't we?
I sort of agree with him, though. Like, it's just at a point now where, obviously, we've had another announcement this week from old Boris, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be going away, does it? But I guess, sign of the times, unfortunately. But in the darkness of this, there's been some good little things, i.e. this podcast, which moves me on to my positive. And I know we're ahead of schedule at the minute on terms of releasing. So we've actually got one live as we record here, but the feedback we've had's been really positive. And when we first started this, I thought we'd have 3 listeners, the people on this call. But it's nice to see. It's nice to see people listening and just, having a laugh and a bit of positive feedback from it as well. So,
Stick with us. Audio will continue to get better.
Yeah, it's only getting better week on week. I was gonna add to that, Tricey. We'll have not just 3 listeners, us, but also our families. But then I thought about it in a split second after and thought, you know what? I'm not even sure I could guarantee that from week one.
My mum's not going to be listening.
But that is good. No, that is a good point. We have had some surprisingly good feedback in the first week of our first release. So yeah, it's all positive. I can't really remember. I think my positive for this week, I mean, I don't want it to be completely football orientated all the time, because I think that was my positive from last week, or negative. But I last night went down to watch a local amateur team in the area. I think the 10th level of the English football pyramid. So they might be semi-pro actually, but just going to watch a live football game was a joy in itself, and being able to, just like the little things you miss when you don't watch football. I mean, I watch loads of football on television, but nothing compares to being in a ground live. That's it, Dobby. That is the things you miss, right? I've written them down. I had two things that you particularly miss: the thud of the ball hitting a crossbar or a post, and then a man just a few metres down the side from you abusing a linesman because a throw-in's been taken slightly 2 yards further forward than it should have been. Like, these are the things you miss when you don't go to football in like 7 or 8 months. In fact, New Year's Day I think was my last game before last night as a spectator, and you just forget those little things really. So yeah, that's my positive for this week.
I thought you was going to say your positive was Newcastle's was it 7-0 win over Markham. When you said football, I was like, here we go.
Yeah, that
nice 7-0 against Markham.
Well, that just topped off the week. It's just been such a great week, really. I've not got a negative because it's just been the perfect week. I mean, my delivery drive, that knock I got on my door earlier was probably my negative. But I feel like you two have already covered that in enough detail. So yeah, we'll move on. So we're looking this week at British footballers abroad. Obviously, after the news that Gareth Bale will be returning to the English Premier League this season after what I would say is a fairly successful spell in Spain, lads. But we're not really interested in the good tales, the success stories of British footballers going abroad. We're interested in the more, perhaps the stories that have been a bit more forgotten down the years. So who wants to kick us off? Has anyone got any British footballers abroad that we specifically want to talk about tonight?
Well, we can start with some correspondence if you want. We've had, whatever this podcast is, we've had people engage with it on social media, would you believe?
So our parents of ours.
This is back to our families.
Our aunties are
yeah. God's sake, Dad, stop writing in. No, but like you said, Jack, obviously, the likes of Bale, Beckham, Sancho, people like that, they're obviously the superstars, the Brits who go abroad. But as a podcast, we're probably more interested in, a bit more niche and maybe a bit more rogue than your Real Madrids and stuff like that of the world.
Those stories have been well told, haven't they? And I feel like we could tell those stories, but it would much suit our skill set better if we had a look at the niche ones. But yeah, what sort of correspondence have we had then?
So we had someone called Andrew Watson tweet us and say Aaron Ramsey at Juve. Now, for me, he's still a bit in that category of potential superstar, really.
Slightly mainstream, yeah.
It is a bit mainstream now. But his other suggestion, which I completely forgot this player even played overseas, was Joe Cole playing for Lille in France.
Oh, that is a great shout.
I guess as well. What we've all got a few little ones here. What we're going to try to do is maybe work out the dream five-a-side team that from each of the stories, I guess. So Joe Cole, I think we can consider him for our little five-a-side team. So cheers for that, Andrew.
Well, can I just, on that note, Tricey, sorry, can I just say I'll recount my favourite Joe Cole at Lille story, which was that during his entire, because it was a loan spell, I believe.
He was on loan from Liverpool, yeah.
And during his entire spell, I presume it was a season-long loan, he never moved to France. He just lived in London and got the
No.
Eurostar. He got the Eurostar over for training because obviously, don't know. I mean, I've actually been to Lille on a school trip, and I can confirm that it's very, it's the north, the proper north of France.
The training ground's 10-minute walk from the station.
So yeah, it was all linked up for him. So he literally just used to bomb down on the Eurostar.
Do you know how I picture? Do you know how I picture this? I picture this as Joe Cole getting on the Eurostar in the morning with his boot bag, and then getting off at the other end, like jogging down to the training ground.
He must have had some good podcasts to listen to on those commutes, because I mean the Eurostar's quick, but it must be a good hour tops. I don't even know. Is it quicker than that?
Well, yeah, it's not. I mean, there's shorter commutes.
He must have. I suppose. Yeah, it must have taken him a while still to get to the his foot in the training ground.
But sure, did he not? Was he not? He must have done hotels every now and then, like Mondays and
maybe
Mondays and Tuesdays. Went home midweek to see his family. There must have.
I mean,
there must have been a hotel here and there.
But that was.
When was the last train back? He could have done.
Yeah. Goes out for a few drinks with the lads after training.
Do you think
can't stay out for any more lads.
After St Etienne at home, he was getting the train back for getting into London St Pancras at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Maybe he just did a bit of staying on sofas if he ended up staying over. Missed his train back, ended up on the sofa of someone's.
Perhaps the Lille night out during that season was very much like, you can ask Joe Cole to the Christmas party, but he has a thing. He lives in another country, so you got to give him good notice if he's going to attend. Anyway, yeah, that was my favourite Joe Cole.
So
I didn't know that. That's good. Good fact.
Yeah, superb knowledge that from you, Jack. if true, I'm going to trust you.
Don't throw me in with Pele.
Yeah. So as you're saying, Trice, the way we're going to do this is build it around a five-a-side team, do we think? Start at the back, work our way forward, and just see what rogue names come up as we go along. I think that's a fair way to do it.
Another suggestion we had on social media, cheers for that first one, Andrew, was Joe Hart's spell. If we're building a five-a-side team, we need a keeper. Joe Hart at Torino. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like it was a move out of necessity rather than, did Joe Hart really envisage himself at Torino? Probably not. But having said that, there's many worse cities you could live, across Europe, let alone in Italy. And although they're not like a European, they're not a Europa League, Champions League club, I feel like that was still probably a good move for him at the time. The lifestyle, I can imagine Joe Hart getting quite into the Italian lifestyle.
What I like is, see for some reason, because it's quite rare, I like seeing Brits go abroad, and I sort of get engaged with it a little bit. Like, I'll be Googling in that week, like, has he done a press conference in Italian, or has he played it safe with a translator and stuff like that? So I like seeing that aspect of a Brit go abroad because it's so rare, and I guess as well, like loan spells like Joe Hart's, it's only going to be a short time, so you just got to enjoy it while it's there, really.
There's more.
But it doesn't seem to happen as much, does it? Really, Brits going abroad. Like, I guess it's a money thing.
Yeah, I think Joe Hart though, he. From what I remember and what I heard was he was quite like welcomed by Torino fans, and I think they stood by him even though he was a bit of a disaster there. Like it seemed he got that move because it was the only one on the cards, and like his career in England just didn't seem to be going well at all. But it just seemed to go there, and it just continued. But at the same time, I think the fans just, I don't know, I wonder if it was just this like whole idea of having this English player coming over to play for you. Like it was just it's such a rarity. It's like we were saying in the first podcast, when you're a League Two side and you have a Spanish player coming to play for you. Is it that same kind of feeling for the Torino fans?
They must
just get excited about it.
Of Joe Hart.
I don't think Joe Hart was in a bungalow in a housing estate in Turin, but who knows?
For some reason, I have images in my brain of Joe Hart being like out on a balcony and being welcomed by adoring Torino fans below. And I might be overplaying that. Maybe I'm getting mixed up with.
No, I think you could be right. He was proper loved by him. It was a bit. and it did make you wonder why, because he didn't really do very well there either, I don't think. So,
No. Do you think
it's just
I wonder if the Head and Shoulders advertising campaign that he was a part of, is that making its way over to Italy? Maybe Head and Shoulders have the same marketing for the whole of Europe, and therefore they know Joe Hart from the Head and Shoulders campaign.
And he's unveiling, he comes out in his new top, and then also they gives a little demo, gets his hands full of some
So what you want to do?
Go on, Joe, give us a rose.
Crowd
goes
shampoo
mad.
nicely between your fingers, and then
You got the owner with a shower head. Yeah, I think that is a good shout. That of Joe Hart. It was a funny career move it was a funny career, but it still is. It's a bit of a sad but funny career, isn't it, Joe Hart's? He's kind of found his way back into the Premier League now, hasn't he? Despite being linked with a whole host of Championship clubs in the summer. So, I don't know.
I don't know about you two, but I'd rather be first choice. I mean, Italy, all right, that's quite a decent league to play in playing Serie A, but I'd rather be first choice for an overseas club than be like third choice at Tottenham.
Yeah,
I'm not sure on that.
Don't know. It depends where.
Richard Wright, as you know, how many apps did he make for Man City in his time? And he's probably earned 10 times the salary as what he would have done being a number one.
Yeah. It's become known, hasn't it, that some keepers see that third choice keeper route as a
the businessman.
profession. Yeah. Like they aspire to that. What do you want to be when you're older? I want to be a third choice goalkeeper.
Just carry the kit round. Have reasonable banter with the goalkeeping coaches, and then pick up a decent wage.
I guess while we're on third choice keepers, and the one that I'll chuck out there to compete with Joe Hart for the goalkeeper spot would be Graham Stack. So that was my suggestion as well on the social media channels. Yeah,
Stackmeister.
So a bit of background on him, I guess, for anyone who's not aware of Graham Stack. He was a youth player at Arsenal, and I think in his early 20s he got a rogue loan spell over to a Belgian side. And what's their name again? Beveren, I think, or I don't know how you pronounce it. Beveren in Belgium. Yeah, so in 2002, so he was just probably at the end of his youth contract at this time. He got a loan spell over to a Belgian side. And to be honest, he gives a good account for it on some other footballing podcasts. I think it's the Magic Sponge, and that had me in stitches when I heard about the loan spell that he had over there. As a young 20-year-old being sent out on loan to Belgium just sounds pretty bizarre. But then there's obviously a really famous story that comes with it. That I'm sure you guys. I know you're aware of Tricey. What about you, Jack? Are you aware of the?
I don't think I am
famous
aware of this. No.
I'm sure Tricey will give a good description of it.
Well, it's on our Twitter. Some Belgian dudes already shared this with us, which is, again, I'm mad that we're even getting engagement in Belgium, but thanks for that. Yeah, I don't want to steal the limelight, Dobby, but essentially, Jack, Graham Stack is worshipped in this little area of the town for being like a defiant towards football hooliganism. And what's the team called he's playing, Dobby? Beveren, is it?
Beveren, yeah.
What, so it was nothing to do with his performances as such, it was more his off-field
actions. There was essentially...
More his actions.
In one particular 2-minute incident.
They were playing like their local rivals, and he's in net, obviously, and the away fans behind the goal are pelting objects at him, coins, everything, wallets, bottles. They're all flying onto the pitch, and allegedly he lobs them back, and it sends like their ultras behind the goal into complete overdrive, and they actually storm the pitch. We shouldn't really be laughing at this, it's horrific, but they storm the pitch, and these ultras are running towards it, but Graham Stack's first instinct is to lay his right glove on one of them, and it sparks him out.
Why have I not seen this before?
It's brilliant.
It's on our Twitter, mate. Have a watch. On the Belgian press and stuff like that, they've sort of praised him and sort of got him on talk shows and stuff like that as someone who defies football hooliganism.
On talk show,
I think he has to be considered for our Brits Abroad keeper.
I mean, I knew of that loan spell, but I didn't know of that incident. But I don't know how that incident's passed me by, really. That just sounds insane.
We'll get
like a proper cult story.
Yeah, we'll get the clip up for you afterwards. But yeah, it's a good story that goes with a really funny guy, actually, and a career of a lot of the vast majority of it being a third choice keeper, and a long spell of it being at Arsenal during that period of the Invincibles and the glory years under Wenger. So some of his stories of just being the backup keeper there, but being in that environment are so funny. And he is just a typical kind of like southern cockney. He grew up in a pub. It's some of his stories about flogging dodgy like handbags and stuff to the players for Christmas. There's a great story as well. He gives a ticket when he's a youth player. He gets free tickets. He gives one of his match day tickets away to a Liverpool fan to share it, who were playing away at Highbury, and ends up having to share his seat with a Liverpool fan because he manages to get in through the executive entrance down the tunnel. So as a character, very funny, and that loan spell and landing a right hook on a pitch invader, I think definitely puts him up there.
I'm glad, because my only memory of him before was negative, because when I was collecting Premier League Merlin stickers, filling out the sticker album as a youngster, I always remember Graham Stack would be the one you'd get, like, someone who they put in like a lot of the packs. So you'd open it up and you'd be open for like a really rare player, and it'd be, oh bloody hell, Graham Stack again. So I'm glad that he's got like I've got a more positive memory of him now.
For his heroics in Belgium, if we're doing a five-a-side team with Brits Abroad, for me, he has to be the keeper. Sorry, Joe.
He's going in, yeah, no doubt about it.
Right, what about some defenders then? I'm going to go, has anybody got any defenders that spring to mind that want to throw in there?
Well, this, I mean, if you don't, you two have shared that fantastic story with me about Graham Stack. I'd like to share you, not quite as, not as enthralling a story, but still quite a funny story of Des Walker following his move to Sampdoria in, I believe, the early 90s from Notts Forest. It might be 89, but I'm pretty sure it's late 90s.
Right.
So Des Walker, like, obviously, a top class England defender at the time. Who's in a very good Notts Forest team, been capped by England, but he didn't really settle in Italy. And there's one major reason, I believe, why he didn't settle. There's a brilliant clip. It's from a documentary. Now, I'm not sure. It might be the Graham Taylor documentary, the famous sort of inside look at Graham Taylor's England managerial spell from the early 90s. But it might not be that, but it might be that. Anyway, he's sat at a table with Les Ferdinand, amongst other players, and he's describing the last few months, how it's been. Obviously, he's been asked, "Oh, what's it like in Italy, Des?" And he's just like, "Well, I've not had lasagna. I've not had lasagna once since I've been in Italy." Like, the way he says it as well, I probably can't do the clip justice on my own. So I might put it in the social channels after the game, after the recording. But the way he says it, it's like he can't believe it himself that he's not had lasagna once since he's moved out to Italy. He must have been there 6 months at this point, and he's like, "Yeah, I've not had it once. Not as a starter, not as a main. I can't believe it." And Les Ferdinand just looks at him blankly and is like, "What, is it not on the menu? Or like, what's the reason for this lack of lasagna?" And Des just looks completely, like, really upset by it. And I think he went over as any Englishman would, perhaps, expecting lasagna on a daily basis in Italy. But like, once he didn't get it, his whole worldview was skewed, and he was like really unsure about life and about football. And his move to Sampdoria was a complete disaster. He only lasted one season after that. He played at fullback a lot, which obviously wasn't his natural position. And like, even his career after, once he came back to England, because there was the old chant of "You'll never beat Des Walker," because he was so quick. He used to just get to the ball in the pre-back pass era and just knock it back to the goalkeeper. But he just wasn't at that level anymore after following his move to Italy. So Yeah, I thought I'd throw him in there as a defender for our team. What do you two think? Would either of you two be sort of upset if you couldn't eat lasagna on a daily basis in Italy?
I imagine I would have it weekly if I was there.
Yeah,
I imagine it would there'd be a big part of my life, my food choices. So I don't know if he's saying it out of like he's impressed with himself.
He's definitely not impressed with himself. He's just upset though. He's just fundamentally upset. He sounds like he would have had it a lot more if he could have had it. But he's just I guess that's why Les Ferdinand asked the question. What is it not on the menu? But,
I didn't know much. To be honest, I didn't even realise that he'd gone over to play for Sampdoria. So that's good education for me there.
Did it?
It reflects well on him though, because playing in Italy in the 90s, you had to be decent. That was like the Premier League. No.
Just had a look then. It was managed by Sven Goran Eriksson.
Yeah, Sven started, I believe. I mean, maybe that's why he didn't get lasagna a lot. Perhaps it wasn't on offer in the team hotel or whatnot. But I wonder, did he have similar expectations of pizza or like other staple Italian foods? Like, what was it? He was really concerned, clearly, about his lack of lasagna.
The one thing for any Brit abroad in life is the issue with cuisine, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it must be tough for the footballers trying to determine. I've got an offer on the table for Italy where I'm probably going to get by, quite happy with Italian food, or do I risk it and go over to Asia and in China where it could be it could be an unpredictable 12 months.
You could be pushing the culinary efforts a lot more, that's true. But I had another story about Lufa Blissett not being able to get Rice Krispies when he was in AC Milan, but I'll save that.
All yours just food related.
I'll save that for the midfield. But I do think that's a key part of moving to another country. Learning the language is one thing, the culture of of just being polite, and but then also I think food is also a big factor in that. And I kind of feel like you're on Des Walker's side of it with this, Dobby. Like you too would expect lasagna on a semi-regular basis if you were out in Italy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, like I say, that if I wasn't having it at least once a week, I'd be wondering what's going on. So
yeah, I never got to the bottom of whether he ever managed to get some during that season. I mean, that clip was about halfway through, so maybe he did manage to hit his plate before the end of the year. I don't know, but yeah, he's my nomination for defenders for this team.
I'd like to nominate someone as a defender, and the reason I'd like to nominate this person is because there's never been a transfer of a British player that's resonated more with me than this one. It's the most relatable thing I can imagine. So
I know what's coming here as well.
It's 2013, and Scottish Cafu, Alan Hutton, is fallen out with the Aston Villa manager, Paul Lambert, at the time. And he's actually been a Brit abroad as well, hasn't he? But we don't put Champions League winners in our five-a-side team, I don't think. Scottish Cafu, yeah. So he's fallen out with Paul Lambert at Villa, and he's gone out on loan to Mallorca, and that is just the dream move. For if you fell out with your boss, where do you want to go? Right, I'm going to go play for Mallorca, and I'm going to spend 6 months in Magaluf.
You do just picture it as him literally just having like a flat that opens up onto the strip, like
swimming pool below his balcony, where it's like always constantly full of a party, even at 11 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, he may have been professional and not gone out all the time, but I just have this image of any British player playing for Mallorca, like they're on the bar crawls after late kickoffs and stuff like that. Just like faking injuries to come off at half time so they can be on a booze crew the next morning.
It is. You're right. It is the dream, isn't it? If you're going to get paid a hell of a lot of money to go and kick a ball around, where do you want to go and do it? Well, go do it in Spain and somewhere where there's a shitload of alcohol and and bars.
Charlie Adam must have been absolutely dying to get out there and join him. Like that must have been both of their dream scenario. Like having a mate out there and just hitting the booze hard and just training occasionally whenever they needed to.
Do we know how the Mallorca move actually came? Like why Mallorca? I know from his behalf why Mallorca.
Yeah, but why were
they interested in Alan Hutton?
Yeah.
It must have been one of them where there was 10 teams who've all put the name forward, like, yeah, we'll take him on loan, and you probably got a few in the Championship and a few, I don't know, like in close proximity in Europe. But Alan Hutton's looked at that list and is at a point in his career where he wasn't really going anywhere, was it? Like, it looked like he was going to be dead and buried almost, and he had a bit of a resurgence.
Yeah, I think he actually went back to Villa after that move, because I remember
sorted himself out.
I saw him rock up for a few games at St James's. I even think, Dobby, when we were at university together, I actually came back to the house after a game, and like we'd just beaten Aston Villa, and I was like, I'm just sick of them turning up every year with Alan Hutton on at right back, because he's just offering very little to that team. But
so maybe it was just a bit of a gap year for him. Like, go get out of the system, go have a year in Mallorca.
He was rapid.
A gap year before uni.
Yeah, you can imagine game on like the Saturday, and then straight after on the booze cruise. I bet he has a quad bike to get to training on from the strip. I bet he's been on them rides on Magaluf Strip on the.
Have we got any
the big slingshot?
We got any facts and figures, Tricey, about how many games he played? You know, did he have an impact on this Mallorca team?
Yeah, 17 apps to the end of the season, but they actually went down. They did try signing him afterwards, apparently, but it didn't materialise.
After all that, they got relegated. That was like the biggest let up. I was expecting it was like, oh, Alan Hutton saves the day style story, and it was like, no, they went down.
Do you reckon they gave him free roam? Do you reckon he was like their is it Alaba who put?
Oh yeah, just sort of like
where he just is it for Austria where he just gets the free roam and on every set piece. Do you reckon that was Alan Hutton's role at Mallorca? It's like, Alan, just you play wherever you want. And
the coach is telling all the other players, like, yeah, pass the ball to Alan. When you get a moment, just pass it to Alan.
No, I think that forms a good back two partnership for the defence.
Yeah. Is Alan Hutton going in? Is he confirmed?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I haven't got any that would top that out of like rogueness. That is like the player in the team. And just Magaluf. Like,
yeah, that's
got to go in, hasn't it?
There's no topping Magaluf.
Yeah, for defenders, unless we were going to try and push the midfielder back, I think we can settle on that. Unless anyone else has got any contenders in there.
Well, I'm happy if I've managed to get Des Walker in just off not being able to eat a lasagna. Then I think he's a perfect foil for Alan Hutton. Really, they also We've covered a lot of the continent so far. So we've covered, Italy and Spain so far, but we're making waves.
And would you like to kick us off with a shout for midfield?
Go for it, Dobbs.
I'm gonna, and I think someone else mentioned this on social media, so I'm gonna put Jermaine Pennant out there. Which, I mean, God, we could sit here all night and have conversation about Jermaine Pennant and some of his comments in the press and his apparent autobiography, but yeah, I mean, we all remember him for his youth career at Arsenal. He had various loan spells, didn't he, before making the move over to Liverpool. A short period at Portsmouth before getting a permanent switch to Real Zaragoza. So, to be honest, I don't know a lot about his time at Zaragoza, other than that he signed a 3-year deal, and I think he got about 6 months into the season, and then within a 2-week period, I think he was late for training 3 times, and on the 3rd time, he just kind of got exiled from the team. The coach just had enough of him and sent him home, disciplined him, and then he never played for him again. So yeah, I mean, it was only a season spell before coming back to the Premier League, but it does make you wonder why on earth he went to Zaragoza, and really was his head in it when he got there to only be there for so long. But I think Pennant as a character is just a very fascinating person, and I was having a look earlier, and because I remember, I don't know if you guys will remember, but some of the stories about him coming out to the press to go on about his and Ashley Cole's relationships and the amount of threesomes they'd had.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
Some of the stories from that autobiography were brilliant. Like, I don't know how true they were, but they were some of the best stories I've seen.
So I had a quick So when I was doing a little bit of Googling earlier to try and find out about Jermaine Pennant's time at Zaragoza, I just got sidetracked into just his sex scandals. Finding a News of the World article that kind of titled it, well, there was, the stories of freeways and apparently, in quotations, gay sex orgy with Ashley Cole, where apparently someone had a mobile phone up their arse.
Was that voluntary or was that,
I don't know. But then Ashley Cole, think of it as what you will, but then Ashley Cole was suing The Sun and News of the World. And another quote, we were high-fiving each other over her back, we had a little tea break and went at it again. And then we'd rate girls like Monopoly paying each other rent if we bedded the same girl. How do you come out in public and make these comments?
How does that even work? Like, I don't even think that's possible. Like, that just sounds like some words he's put together. Like the actual practicalities of playing a Monopoly style game based on the girls they've both been with is absurd.
So yeah, my shout at Jermaine Pennant started because it was just an intriguing spell to go over to Spain for a year, and we know his personality he was always going to let himself down. But then just the sidetrack into some of the things that he's openly released into the press, and what he's outed Ashley Cole for as well, and just the way he's worded it is just, and I just thought, what a rogue character! Like, let's just get his name out there.
Do you think he had his ankle tag on still when he was in Spain? Surely he'd have had to lose, like. Because I remember he's the first footballer to have to be obviously being tracked by the establishment during a game, and he surely wouldn't have been able to get the move out to Spain. Although obviously,
I think that must have been behind, because at this point he was quite far into his career. So it was 2009 when he went, and I mean, he had been at Arsenal since '99, so he was 10 years into his career. He'd been late 20s when he got the move, so I imagine there was no tag at this point.
What I like about all these moves so far as well, I don't think we've had, like, there's no British links out for any of these players at the clubs already. Do you know what I mean? So, like, because I remember Chris Coleman was manager in La Liga at the same time, but I think he was manager of Real Sociedad. So, like, there was no British link for Jermaine Pennant at Real Zaragoza, as far as I can recall. So why was he out there?
Did you hear his story about his car? Did you pick that up, Dobby?
I've heard about the car, but I can't remember the story.
I've not heard about the car.
Because he was one of them. You know, when I was looking for midfielders playing abroad, he was the one I looked at as well. And I found, spelt in quotes. So, like you said, he was only there for a season at best, and he was on his way to sign for Stoke City. So basically, he just drove his Porsche to the train station at Zaragoza because he was getting a connecting train to Madrid, and then just left it there with the keys in the glove box.
Oh, yeah.
And his quote was, "I know I wasn't going to go back. I didn't feel too bad to leave such an expensive car there. I told my translator, Fernando, to go to the station and get the car. The poor man had to pay almost €500 as a fine for my parking."
That is...
What a dickhead. But that sums him up, doesn't it, really? I forgot about that. But then it does end up going back abroad, doesn't he, actually? So he comes back to the UK.
No. He's been abroad twice.
Yeah, I think it's India. So he ends up in India. I don't know how that move comes about, because it's the last person you'd expect to fancy, like, the cultural change.
That's definitely,
to go over to,
the payday must be a big part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot about Indian football, and I imagine Jermaine Pennant didn't at that point, so it must have been a big pull. But he obviously enjoyed it abroad, because then his 7 appearances before coming back for a stint at Wigan, he found himself over in Singapore. So, well travelled in the end, Jermaine Pennant.
To be fair, he's probably the most. He's the most well travelled of all the players in our 5-a-side team so far. I mean, this isn't a story about him abroad, but I remember when he in his brilliant autobiography, which, I mean, it should be on the essential reading list for every football fan, I feel. he was basically criticising Rafa Benitez when he was at Liverpool, and sort of he said how he got angry with Rafa's boring and repetitive training drills, and sometimes he said, I would just lose it and shout, for fuck's sake, just give us a bit of five-a-side. as if that's an appropriate response from a top flight footballer. It's just have a bit of five-a-side. And also, just Benitez is going to be like, he just wants a bit of five-a-side.
Jermaine fancies five-a-side. Come on, lads, bring it
in. That's it. Just those stories, I think, they sum up the man perfectly. Also, I mean, so he spent time in India, obviously in the Indian Premier League, but then he's been found recently at Billericay Town. I mean, if any player you could see played for Billericay Town, if you had to pick one former Premier League player to play for that team, it would be Jermaine Pennant. So yeah, I think he's a great choice, and I'm more than happy with his inclusion in our five-a-side team. What do you reckon, Tricey?
Yeah, is our midfielder, surely.
Yeah.
And it's a good little team this we're building.
Yeah. And Jermaine Pennant's want to be hitting the headline for dodgy scandals. So
yeah. I feel like
in true British fashion, really, whenever we go abroad, we sort of disgrace ourselves. So
yeah.
One for the tabloids, Jermaine. You're in.
Well, I guess that leaves us with just a striker to go then.
I don't know. We're not going. Wait, we got two midfielders.
Well, I thought we had two defenders. I was classing Des Walker as I was saying he was in Dobby, but if you want to, I'll tell you what, we can put forward two strikers because I've got a striker as well. So let's put forward our multiple strikers, and then we'll work out a final five. Right, so Jermaine Pennant is our choice at the moment, but have we got any other midfielders we want to give a mention to, boys?
It'd be rude to not mention Joey Barton. I don't think he probably gets in the team, but he needs to be considered for his god-awful French accent.
Yeah. I feel like
stint in Marseille.
He himself is mainstream, but that transfer wasn't particularly mainstream. I don't think anyone saw that transfer coming, like Joey Barton to Marseille. It was all a bit left field.
Was it because he was breaching UK betting regulations at the time, or was that something else?
Well, I think he was banned for 12 games in England because of the final day assault on Sergio Aguero when he got sent off at the Etihad and was trying to get as many Man City players sent off as possible. So he decided to just like take on the whole City team, and I think he got banned for 12 or 14 games, something like that. So that might have been part of why he went out there. But.
Yeah, no, I remember that actually. I forgot about that whole final day thing that he had at Man City. He started at Man City though, didn't he, Joey Barton? I mean, he's shown a lot of promise there. He seemed to be one to kind of like watch for the future, but at that point you could tell he had the personality that could lead him astray. But yeah, a couple of stints. It was at Newcastle, wasn't he, Jack? Was that straight after Man City?
Yeah, we signed him for a £5 million, I think, and he broke his foot in like his second pre-season game, so it wasn't a great start. But he's one of the few footballers to have appeared on Question Time, which I always think that gets overlooked a little bit. Like he's kind of like he's an odd character.
Economics degree, is that what he's got? Some philosophy?
He's into his philosophy, but then he's also, like, in his previous life, obviously, was quite he's still an aggressive character, I think. But,
yeah.
I don't know if,
he had that bust up in the Barnsley tunnel, didn't he? Where he headbutted or punched their manager the other. So he has a year of stability, doesn't he? And then he just does something very stupid.
I thought it was like the police were being called, weren't they? 20 minutes later.
Yeah, but he managed to keep his job, which, like, fair play. Like, must have put a good argument forward to keep your job after assaulting someone.
I love it. Go on. I mean, I was just going to say, his press conference when he signed for Marseille and he was speaking with a French accent was brilliant. But is it as good as the original? I always think in this case the original is the best, and the original is of course Steve McLaren's FC20 Arsenal interview.
And it is Arsenal.
Arsenal.
Yeah, he says a lot of Liverpool or Arsenal, and it is Arsenal. Like at some point he speaks like broken English, but at certain points he just dips into a pure English accent. Like he's not even trying to go for the Dutch accent, which I just think is phenomenal.
Yeah, that was the original.
The beauty about that one, though, for me, was that everyone in Holland pretty much speaks English. Like I swear, recently they've had, they've actually had investigations and sort of political campaigns about English in Holland and how it should be taught and stuff like that. So loads of people speak it. So the Dutch camera team just must be looking at him going, what on earth is he doing here?
Yeah, they are pretty good over there at English. So yeah, I don't know what brought that on. But just going back to Barton for a moment, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but whilst he was in the French league, he had a 2-match ban because of a comment he made on Twitter. So it was in regards to Thiago Silva at PSG at the time, and basically on Twitter he refers to Thiago Silva as an overweight ladyboy. So that earned him a 2-match ban. So yeah, typical Barton. Moves in 2012, gets off to a good start, and then about 9-10 months later goes and does something like that. I feel like he can't help himself, can he?
That's peak Barton, isn't it? I'll move to France. I'll become a little bit more cultured and refined, and I'll try and leave that persona behind in England. And then 6 months down the line, he's calling someone a ladyboy on Twitter. That just sums the man up, really.
Calling Jerry Barton from mediocre Premier League player, calling out Thiago Silva, one of the world's greatest centre backs, as a ladyboy.
His insults. Didn't he insult Zlatan as well about like a big nose or something along those lines? I feel like there's a social media clip that does the rounds every few months or so of Zlatan and Joey Barton having a slanging match.
But he's always worth a mention, isn't he, for midfielders abroad? And I mean, is there any more to add to that, or shall I chuck us another one in there? Another midfielder?
No, you can put it forward, mate. I mean, it'll have to be good to unseat. I feel like Jermaine Pennant's almost captaining this team at the moment, but yeah.
Do you know how I sort of see this team like building, as you know, like in the slalom, in the ski World Cup and stuff like that, where the leaders sat like in front of the advertising boards, and then like someone has to deplace them, and then they go into the thing. So at the minute, Jermaine Pennant's like sat in front of the thing, watching everyone else go down the slopes. Go on, Dobby, sorry.
No, it's only a brief one, but I thought, again, worth a mention. I mean, there's not a great deal of overseas appearances here, but there's been a few moves, and it's Ravel Morrison. So just obviously a kid with a lot of potential during his time at Man United. Got moved to West Ham, a few loan spells, and then did 4 years apparently at Lazio, but 4 appearances. So it's 1 appearance a year. It's not a bad life, is it? Your annual run out. Well, this is according to his Wikipedia page. So, as we know, you can't use that as a reference in your university exams. But yeah, according to Wikipedia, he was at Lazio for 4 years and 4 games. But yeah, I think he's the kind of Ravel Morrison's the kind of guy where, like, you imagine his grandma refer like he's a nice lad, but he's troubled. He's one of them, isn't he? He's a troubled lad. And I think Alex Ferguson said that he needed to get away from Manchester. He's hanging around with the wrong people. Like,
I often
if he was hanging around with some better mates, it'd be all right. So I feel like that's just been Ravel Morrison for the last 15 years. Just wherever he's gone, he just gets in with the wrong crowd.
I feel like with Ravel Morrison, like he must have been one hell of a footballer, because I've never really seen, like, there's so much hype about him, and I've never actually seen him do any, like, I saw him
kick a ball.
I saw him score one brilliant solo goal for West Ham away at Tottenham in a 3-0 victory, and he was like untouchable in that game. But like, that's it. That's all I've ever seen. And like, obviously, we watch football, pretty intensely. He must have been very, very good to be spoken about, because like you say, Dobby, like Ferguson talked about him as being almost as good as any youth player who's ever given. And like, imagine how good he must actually be, and imagine how surely how good he would have been had he not been led astray.
Well, I still think that, like, you still think that because of the hype, it's impossible. Like he was training at Sheffield United last season. I don't know if he signed.
Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think he did sign.
It's one of them players who you want him to sort of go somewhere and be stable and, tear it up. But because of the hype, it's like Pogba and who else was in that setup? Pogba, Lingard, Michael Keane and stuff like that. But
yeah,
Ravel Morrison was like the standout player in that age group that came through at Man United. And it's just a shame, really, that,
it's not worked
he's
out.
been all over the world, not really done anything.
No.
He's only 27 still, and he's actually so he's like only just hitting his peak. Really, you never know if he gets himself sorted out. It could be at the next World Cup for us. It could be a good story in the end.
He was definitely like when the tabloid newspapers would always pitch forward like England's 2022 World Cup squad in like 2012. Ravel Morrison was like captain. It'd be like Ravel Morrison captain and number 10.
He's over in the Netherlands himself now at Den Haag. So over in the Haag.
That was it. He moved last week or the other week, didn't he? Yeah. Let's hope his entourage.
I think we know what we'll be getting up to over there, don't we?
Well, I just hope he finds his path on the straight and narrow, to be honest, and like gets his head down, because I want to see more of him in his whole career than just that one dribble against Tottenham, that one amazing solo goal. I feel like he should have more to offer.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, does that round us up for midfielders, do we think?
Well, I'll give you the authority on this one, Tricey, as you poetically put it with the metaphor of the ski slope. So, do you think Ravel Morrison's managed to unseat Jermaine Pennant in the leader's chair?
I think he's potentially a better player, but I think Jermaine's the slalom winner for today. I think he's staying in midfield for us.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You can't beat those stories, can you? Like, you can't. There's, the man left his keys. He left his keys in his car and just dumped his car at the train station as he fled back home. That sums him up.
Yeah, he's a dickhead, essentially.
That's perfect to captain our team then. So let's move on to our last berth in this five-a-side team of misfits. Up front, do either of you two want to kick us off with your suggestions?
Right. So mine is Jay Bothroyd. I don't know if either of you guys had him down. It's quite a funny one.
No.
This. I think you'll enjoy it. So we're all aware of his career in England, notably his time at Wolves and Cardiff, and one of England's all-time great one-cut wonders. But did you know about his time in the Thai Premier League and Japanese Second Division?
No. Enlighten us.
I can't say I did.
Exactly, yeah. So in 2014, he made the switch to a Thai Premier League side, Muang Thong United, where he got 7 goals.
Again?
Muang Thong United, where he got 7 goals in 18 games. So yeah, not bad. Could have been better ratios in that league, I imagine. I didn't really find out much about what he was doing over there, or where it was, what might have been the appeal. But then in 15-16, he got his switch to the Japanese Second Division for Jubilo Iwata.
So he went directly from the Thai Premier League to the Japanese Second Division?
To be confirmed, not entirely sure. But
Okay.
From 2014, he was in Thailand. 2015, he was in Japan, Japan's Second Division. He scored 34 goals in 54 games to guide them to promotion. And from my research, the team that he was playing for between 97 and 2003 were one of the top sides in the Japanese First Division, but had a bit of a fall from grace. So he's obviously been a key striker in getting them back to the promised land. So what I also found a bit funny about his move there, I had a look at where this team was located in Japan, because you're thinking, right, if you go into Japan, surely you're thinking the Tokyo lifestyle, like the bright lights, or maybe Osaka. That's a pretty cool place. But no, he went to Iwata, I think you pronounce it, and it's a town of 170,000 people. So it's no like major city. It's not like moving to Turin, or it's like a really nice like Spanish city, or in this case Tokyo. he's moved to something that's probably like the equivalent size to Middlesbrough in Japan, and it's not really near anywhere of significance. So I don't know what the appeal was for this first move in Japan. So I did some research on the town, and the only thing that I can find that might have been an appeal to him to move to Iwata is that there's a Yamaha motorcycle museum there. So maybe he's a motorbike enthusiast. Because other than that, there's nothing going on apart from like the national park. So after his season or two there, he gets another switch, and he stays in the top division in Japan and goes to Hokkaido Consadole Sapporo. Sapporo is a city in Japan, so it's gone up in his taste a little bit. But again, can't really find out a lot of that. Yeah, it was there for the Rugby World Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I thought, I wonder what might have influenced that. And fun fact about Sapporo, it's the only city in Japan to have a beer museum. So maybe a cycling and motorcycle enthusiast and beer enthusiast, the only things that I can gather as to why I would want to go to either of these two teams.
Not money.
So yeah. So Jay Bothroyd, I didn't know that until doing a bit of research that their moves were that rogue. But yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning, one cat wonder as well, which is always a great story, isn't it? So, what are your thoughts on that then?
The similarities between Ottawa and Cardiff, that's what I'd be interested in. Because, like, he's given up one, party lifestyle. Cardiff's a pretty buzzing city, by all accounts. And suddenly you go into, what sounds like a relatively sleepy suburb of Japan.
Well, he did have his time in Thailand, and
he must have gone to, God knows what in Thailand. Like, it's, is he that much of a motorcycle enthusiast that was his reason for selecting it, Dobby? Is that what do you think that was his main?
No, I just was just quite like amused by the move and not recognising any like the names of the teams or like cities. So I just thought I'd have a look, and yeah, that first one didn't ring any bells at all. So. When you put in like what to do in this city, and it comes up with like they've got a national park and like a museum. That was literally this place. So God knows what the Japanese fans were thinking when Jay Bothroyd turned up. But fair play to him, we give him something to cheer about.
Do you think he was advertised as like an England superstar, like someone who's been capped for England? Or...
If I will do some research on that, I'll find out what the PR was around it, and I bet there'll be a few like fan accounts out there now from his time. I mean, the Asian fans are pretty passionate, aren't they? When they get like a superstar, they really buy into it. So I do hope that Bothroyd could have been one of them.
I'm imagining him on like billboards in the town. Like the signing was announced months in advance, and he was a major player there.
Do you reckon you get people who do the annual trips over to Cardiff to learn more about his time in the English divisions?
Yeah, Jay Bothroyd fans. They got Bothroyd on the back. Yeah, attend every game. That's a very good selection, I think, Dobby. That's going to be difficult to beat. Tricey, have you got anything to suggest on the forward line?
Yeah, I've got two. One's probably not as good as that because he actually had a really good career in this country. So the first one, I'll sort of skim over him. Bradley Wright Phillips at New York Red Bulls, when he sort of gave his early career to teams in and around like the Championship. He had a stint at Charlton, and he was at Man City when he was a really young player. But he's actually New York Red Bulls' record ever goal scorer.
Nice.
Yeah.
He scored 126 in 240 apps in all comps for him.
Wow.
So, I mean...
That's the luxury move, isn't it? That New York, and then becoming their leading scorer. He's got a good life, Bradley, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So he was actually there as well when... He was there when Henry was there as well, so... I've actually done some research, and he won New York Red Bulls MVP in 2014 for 31 goals in 37 games in all competitions. And for context, Thierry Henry only managed 10 in 35 all competitions. So Bradley Wright Phillips, what a Brit abroad he's been in America, in the big US of A.
Yeah, I don't know if either of you maybe heard this. I could be wrong, but I'm sure it was Sean Wright Phillips on the radio mentioned that he went over to visit Bradley, and then he got chatting to the coach at the time, and he basically just invited Sean to just go train with him and sign with them, as if he just turned up to watch a game, and because they obviously knew who he was, it was like, oh yeah, if you like it over here, you can stay and play for us. And has he been with any other teams in the States since?
He's just signed for Los Angeles, one of the Los Angeles ones.
Right, because I'm sure it was Sean Wright Phillips on the radio who was telling the story, and I don't know if he went ahead and did sign with New York or LA, but it did sound almost, like your brother comes along to training so you come to join in at training, or your mate, and he's really good, so the manager that approached him at the end and was like, oh yeah, if you want to sign, you can sign up for us.
It's like, get my brother involved.
It sounded a bit like that.
Well, they must have been loving it, because no disrespect to Bradley, he was playing at Charlton before New York Red Bulls, and he's scoring 31 in 37. Sean Wright Phillips, had a decent enough career playing for Chelsea and in Man City and stuff like that. They must be thinking, God, we're getting the better brother here. He's going to score absolute bucket loads if he signs for us.
Yeah, that is it. Thinking of it, out of all the ones we've mentioned, that'd be my out of the ones who I'd like to replicate. Bradley Wright Phillips,
the
lifestyle, that kind of accolade, and
no one knows who you are in New York as well if you're a soccer player over there.
Yeah, you can just get on with your life, can't you?
No. Yeah,
good shout.
My other one, when I was searching this morning for Brits to play abroad, and I really love this player from his time at West Brom and Cardiff in the early 2000s, and that's Robert Earnshaw. And I never realised that he had a loan spell at Maccabi Tel Aviv in Israel in 2012-13 season.
Nice. Was it in 2012, 2013? So even that early on?
God, I thought he'd still be hanging around the Wales squad at that point.
Well, I think he may have been. I think he. Yeah. He played 10 games and scored 2 goals, but he was there while conflict was happening in Israel. And I know you can't trust Wikipedia, but his Wikipedia page says Earnshaw spent part of the 2012 season while conflict was going on in Tel Aviv, during which he expressed his shock at the city coming under rocket fire, saying, I looked over at these guys who had many years' service in the army. They knew exactly what was going on. One of them shouted that we had to take cover up by the side of the dressing rooms. So basically, he's facing bombs every day. And then the next paragraph of the Wikipedia article says, after his loan spell, on returning to Cardiff, manager Malky Mackay deemed Earnshaw surplus to requirements in January 2013. It's like, Jesus Christ.
I love how brutal the Wikipedia pages can be.
Yeah, it's just to summarise, he went to Israel, scored 2 in 10, there was a conflict in Israel and Gaza, and then came back to Cardiff, and Malky Mackay didn't think he was anything, so got rid of him.
PTSD.
Oh,
that must have been so different to any that's. All right, Spain, Italy, quite similar to the UK in terms of lifestyle and football. But for a footballer to go and play in the Far East, I think would be a massive shock to your system.
To get one of them in that environment as well, and play like Earnshaw as well, he'd have had options. Surely he could have stayed England or somewhere a little bit more luxurious. Sure, it's 2012, 2013. That in my head, that appears to be a time frame when he was still probably good for goals and a few somersaults as his celebration.
You say that though, Dobby, but he's probably achieved everything to his capabilities in Britain. And Maccabi Tel Aviv, I'm not sure where they were at that season, but I know for a fact they've played in Europa League in
they have.
However many
played,
years.
Champions League against Manchester United, haven't they? Before?
Have they? Right. So he might have saw that as a cheap way to get into European football, I guess.
I just wanted to know what Robert Earnshaw's view on the whole Israeli-Palestinian conflict is. I mean, maybe it's too controversial for him. Perhaps he wants to stay neutral. I don't know, but I just
have to.
I'd love to play my football.
Yeah, I'd love to corner him in a smoking area though, and just of a club, and just say like, "What are your views on Israel versus Palestine?" Like, just
so if you're out this Saturday night, it's 1 a.m. non-COVID, and you're in the smoking area, and Robert Earnshaw is over there.
Yeah, that'd be my
first thing
question
you're going up to him to ask him about his verdict.
I'll just go up to him and I'll go, all right, I'm not going to... enough with the bullshit.
I don't want to know about Wales.
Yeah,
I don't want to know about
I don't care about the rest of your mainstream career. I just want to know, you went out to Maccabi Tel Aviv. What side of the Israel-Palestine conflict are you falling on? And just let me know, and then I can die happy.
I reckon it'll be relieved to have a non-football related question, but I'm not sure what answer you'd get.
He's a great shout. It's going to be hard to beat him, I think, for this team.
I like that because
Bothroyd's in the seat. I think for me, just for you're playing in the Japanese second tier, and also a stint in Thailand. I think that is, he's essentially gone travelling, hasn't he, for a season, really.
Have I got time just to throw in? I'll just quickly throw in my suggestion for up front. So, 2007, I'm at St James's Park. We're being soundly beaten by Blackburn Rovers, and I think, who's that striker for Blackburn who looks really mobile, agile? He's scored one already. He's breaking through the lines quite easily. Looks a good player, and it turned out to be Matt Derbyshire. And Matt Derbyshire, for those that don't know, has actually spent time overseas twice in his career. First for Olympiacos, which, all right, that's a bit of a mainstreamish team. They regularly play in the Champions League, so
it's a good move from them. Fair
enough, good move. Signed for them for 2 seasons, but the past 5 years he's been out in Cyprus for Omonia, and he's actually their club record goal scorer, I believe now.
Nice.
62. He's get this, 62 goals in 113 games. So is that better than 1 in 2? That's better than 1 in 2.
Yeah.
So he's
scores goals.
Yeah. he gets goals for them, and like not only that. I mean, fair enough. People might snigger at the standard of the Cypriot Football League, but I just feel like Matt's made a good life for himself out there. He's got 3 kids now. He's happily settled down. And, I don't know if it's the same for you two, but, like, from school, there'd always be one kid at school, like, years later, you'd look back and think, they were always a sound person, but they go to university at a very random location. I'm thinking, like, Kiel or Lancaster, somewhere like that. And you just but you'd think that you wouldn't hear about them, but they'd just be settling down quietly out there, and they'd form a good little life for themselves. And I feel like that's what Matt Derbyshire has done here. He is the equivalent of that kid who just went off to a random university and just settled down, made new friends, got a family, and I just want to say well done, Matt, because I feel you've had a good time out there.
That's a great comparison as well. I agree with that.
It's quite touching tribute there to Matt Derbyshire.
Yeah. So I don't think he should be in on ability, but I'm going to throw him in just for that reason, really.
When you say playing in Cyprus, though, I just can't but just think, like 4-star, half-board, like holiday, and I imagine he just when he first moved, he was his first year. Like players might live in hotels in England. He was just in a typical Cyprus 4-star half-board hotel while he found his feet and wanted to know where he was living.
Yeah, I can't imagine I wonder what his house situation is out there now, or if he comes home for Christmas. Those sort of they're the sort of questions I've got for him.
Might have a little B&B on the go, a bit of a side business.
Yeah, maybe he's planning for the future. That's a good point, actually.
I could see him being one of them, like retiring and then, Matt Derbyshire retired 35, but now he owns a bar in Cyprus, a sports bar.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd like to get out there.
I'd go to that bar.
Yeah, I'd love us if we could get out there at some point and give him a visit. That'd be
go see a Matt Derbyshire game.
Yeah, why not? And
I'm sure Matt would enjoy that, Jack.
We'd be the English fans who'd be like taking over the local spot and be like, "Oh, you're here to see Matt Derbyshire." It's like, yes, we are.
Let's all get Matt Derbyshire shirts. Put it on his head.
Oh, so we need to Let's nail this down now, boys. Let's finalise our five-a-side team. We're about to send them out on a cold night at Manchester Power League.
Managed by Steve McLaren, I think. It's got to be.
Yeah, it's got to be after that. Yeah.
So we'll go. So how we're lining up then?
Well, do you want to play? We've got the keeper sorted, haven't we? We've got Graham Stack in net.
Graham's in goal.
So
Graham's in goal now.
Are we playing 2 defenders, 1 midfielder, and a striker? Or are we playing?
We could go diamond.
Or are we playing 2 strikers?
I'll tell you what.
What do you want to do?
I'm going to throw this out there. This is my vote. I'm saying I'm actually taking Des Walker out, despite the brilliance of him not being able to eat lasagna. And I'm going to throw. I think we go with 2 strikers because the strikers we've suggested, I think, are all. They'd fit in
Yeah,
this
there's some
team
good
well.
strikers in there, isn't
So
there?
yeah, let's go with that.
What about 1-2-2 then? Yeah. Wait, no, 1-2. Oh,
No,
It's one-
it would have to be a
yeah,
1-1-2, Dobby. Yeah.
I can't figure it out.
We could have maybe got an 11 aside from this. Maybe that's something that
Yeah.
listeners can shout us out with on Twitter and stuff. If you can make up the numbers and get an 11 aside team from our 5 aside team, because we've probably missed loads. I'm sure there's loads we've not covered there.
That is true. Yeah, we'd need a few episodes to go through all the ones we'd want. I think. I'm saying let's go Stack, Hutton. Who do we say in midfield? Joey Barton in
Pennant.
midfield or Pennant? That's got to be Pennant. Pennant, and I think Pennant's skipper actually as well.
Yeah.
And then
I'm taking
gonna,
like corners, throw-ins. He's doing everything for us, Jermaine.
I'm going to say Earnshaw and Bothroyd up front.
I like
Yeah,
Matt Derbyshire though.
Yeah,
I
I'm
like
thinking
Matt Derbyshire
Derbyshire
as
and Bothroyd is my pairing.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Matt Derbyshire and Bothroyd up front, and I'll just be on the sideline talking to Robert Earnshaw about world peace
It's
and about
political
how we
views.
can resolve the long dispute between Israel and Palestine.
I mean, that works for everyone, doesn't it?
That does. Everyone's happy in that scenario. You two can talk to
Yeah.
Matt Derbyshire about his B&B after the game. Perhaps get invested in that. So yeah, I think that's a good team, boys. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's not a bad little 5-a-side team. That plenty of controversy, but Matt Derbyshire brings a little bit of class to it, I think.
Yeah, and I think it sums up what Brits Abroad have got a reputation for. You know, we're not all leaving our cars at train stations and getting drunk in Maga. Some of us are just settling down in Cyprus, i.e. Matt Derbyshire.
That's spot on, Tricey. I couldn't have put that better myself. Although, disclaimer, we are rewarding Jermaine Pennant with the captaincy for his roguish behaviour.
Yeah, and I specifically picked Alan Hutton for his stays near Magaluf, so...
Just before we go, we'll just have a lightning quick visit to our social media corner. And there's nowhere else to go this week, really. I mean, it's done the rounds recently, but nowhere else to go than Joey Barton talking French at his introductory press conference at Marseille. So I'm going to just play that now for the listeners' benefit.
Yesterday I make one tackle and all everybody speak about is this tackle. Nobody speaks about a 50-yard pass that kills Balmon and it causes a red card for him. And nobody talks about the shot that Landrew would have been happy to see. You know, he didn't see the ball, never mind have a chance to save it. So for me, it's important that people speak about the qualities I bring as a footballer, and I'm a little bit bored, you know, from the English media, and hopefully the French media has more about it than the English media, and concentrate on stupid little incidents like this. Maybe the one criticism.
I mean, it doesn't really get any better than that after that point, lads. But I just like the phrase "stupid little incidents" with a French accent. That's magnificent.
I love the little breakouts of Scouse throughout, though. It's just like...
Just rearing
Can't
its little
disguise
head
that,
at the
can
back,
you?
innit? Yeah, it's just coming around the corner every few seconds.
There's a point where he really regrets that, you can tell. It comes out a few times where he's thinking, oh God, I've started in a French accent here, but I must continue. It's like... It reminds me of like a French GCSE or something like that. You know, we've got your speaking exam and...
Yeah.
Half expecting him to come out with his brother who plays football at weekends or something.
Yeah, you've got to talk about yourself and your family, Joey, and you get 2 minutes to do it. I'm going to be grading you. Go.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah.
Cheers for that. That was a good reminder.
I think that just sums up. That perfectly rounds off our our British Footballers Abroad episode here on Playing Out from the Bar. Tricey, do you want to just plug the social links before we forget?
Yeah.
And leave.
If anyone wants to get in touch, and we will read them and put some of them into the show like we have today. You can get in touch with us on Twitter at Play Out From The Bar, and then Facebook, Instagram, that's Playing Out From The Bar. Also, as well, emails, just playingoutfromthebar@gmail.com. Get in touch, correspond with the show, because it means a lot to us, and we appreciate all the support.
That's
nice one. Have we got a MySpace try? So we're not on MySpace.
Bebo. I wonder if you can still set one up. We might have to get one for all the 90s kids out there.
That's it from Playing Out from the Bar tonight. Thanks for listening, but we'll see you for our next episode.